Welcome back, and joining us on the show now is Sanjay Kumar. He's MD and CEO at Rassense. Sanjay, hi, thank you so much for joining in. And it's been a volatile market for across sector, across companies and segments as well. When it comes to food, really, we're looking at very volatile prices in the global markets. India, of course, has seen slightly easing off inflation here. But what has been your sense, whether it's about weather, Indian production or the global cues? What is it that you're watching at?
Hi, Manisha. Thank you for this call. The way I see it, we have to look at both the supply side and the demand side. So the good news is that this year, the FCI expects to hold almost 30% more stocks than it did previous year. So about 32 million tons is what we expect. We also expect that retail inflation will be moderate, driven by lower oil prices. But what we need to watch is, and which is a very interesting trend, is that domestic food consumption has been increasing, particularly in the rural areas. Over the last 12 months, it's up from almost 3,700 per capita to 4,200. So even as we produce more food, stock more food in the warehouses, which helps stabilize inflation, we must make sure that we are able to meet demand. And if demand grows at a faster pace than what we see in terms of the reserve buildup, we could see a spike in inflation.
And what are your concern areas within here? Because when you look at rice, there's record production. Wheat as well, after 2 or 3 years of concerning situation, we've seen some stability come there. Edible oil, well, yes, that can be a bit of an issue. And where do you see major concerns coming from?
So you rightly mentioned wheat, I think, is going to be pretty stable. There's 12 million tons additional this year that we expect in the reserves. So that will have a moderating impact. Where we still see a concern is pulses, actually, because, given what we are seeing in Canada and the unstable global environment, we'll need to watch that. We'll also need to watch oil, particularly, in the backdrop of the recent deal that we've seen between Malaysia and US with regard to palm oil. So overall, we maintain and we believe that this year will be less inflationary than last year was. As you remember, last year was one of the worst we've seen for food inflation. So to that extent, it's definitely good that we have 105% above average monsoon forecast. So food production is going to be stable. On the back of good infrastructure, we expect that movement of food within India will be less expensive, which will enable to pass on some of the surplus production which happens across different regions to harvest the benefit from that. So our view, coming back to your question, remains that this year will definitely be better than last year in terms of overall food inflation as well as retail inflation. And that's good news.
Oh, it is. Sanjay, so how good is this time to be in food business as you are? You said rural consumption seems to be increasing. What about urban and the changing trends, etc.? What does it mean for you?
Yeah, so from a business standpoint, we maintain that the food services business will grow at about 16%, which makes India one of the fastest growing market. It also provides a great opportunity for Indian companies to now start investing for the future, because Indian companies have largely shied away from this sector, even though it's almost $20 billion. We're still waiting that moment in history when the first Indian food service company will list on the Indian stock market. We are the only country in the world which doesn't have a listed food service company. So our expectation is that on the back of manufacturing growth, our business per se will see between 14 to 16% growth in revenue. Margins, we believe, will remain depressed, largely because of the fact that input tax credit is still not available to the food services business. Should that get restored, we will see some margin enhancement. But in the near term, I expect that revenue growth will be quite robust, far outstripping what you would see anywhere else in the world.
At that point, thank you so much, Manisha, for taking us with this conversation. A big up move is what you're seeing in the market. Once again, the Nifty closing in on the 24,200 mark with a 330-point gain, 1150 points on the Nifty bank now. Take a short break, come back on the other side. Business Lunch takes all the market action ahead.